Our first award is the Excellence in Online Journalism Award, which is presented this year to the Wall Street Journal for its coverage on many media platforms of the Supreme Court's historic Affordable Care Act decision. Here's a brief video that shows how they did it.
We're going to have to take a break here and go straight to Jess Braven, who is at the Supreme Court and has some news for us. Jess?
Alan, this is the opinion, and it appears that the mandate has been upheld. There is no single opinion explaining why, but Chief Justice Roberts, and again, this is a very preliminary reading. I have obviously not read this whole thing, but a quick glance looks like there is a split opinion, but the plurality opinion delivered by Chief Justice Roberts upholds the individual mandate as an exercise of congressional taxing power. There's a lot more here that I've got to go through, and all of us will be going through to figure out what exactly it means. But at first glance, it looks like the administration has pulled out a win with the individual mandate.
Jess, why don't you keep reading? We'll come back to you in a couple of minutes and get a little more detail. Obviously, you've got to pay some attention to that document. And let's go back to Ashley here for a minute. That is phenomenal. That was not the expected outcome. The individual mandate has been upheld by the Supreme Court. A huge victory for President Obama from a Supreme Court, and the decision was written by the Chief Justice.
I'm really surprised, and just based on what Jess said, you can kind of throw out much of what we have been talking about here. It sounds like they upheld it on the grounds that it is a tax.
Alan, just to read one quick sentence for you from this is from the syllabus. This is the court's summary of the opinion. Justice Roberts delivered the opinion of the court with respect to Part 3 of the law, concluding that the individual mandate may be upheld as within Congress's power under the taxing clause. So I'm just reading from the summary issued by the court. Again, we've got to get into the details, but that is what it seems to say.
What was the breakdown of the vote, Jess?
Well, we see here the breakdown. Again, it's a very splintered decision, so how exactly everyone lines up, we'll have to probably make an interesting flow chart. But Roberts, the judgment of the court, delivered an opinion joined by, I guess 3C is that key, joined by Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan, and another opinion. All right, Scalia, Kennedy, Thomas, Alito filed a dissenting opinion.
All right, just keep reading. We'll come back to you in a minute. But clearly what's happened here is Chief Justice Roberts has decided to go with the Democratic-appointed members of the Supreme Court in upholding the individual mandate.
When I saw the screens, I was hoping that Michelle Obama would be giving me the award, but instead we had that mortifying experience of seeing me again. Let me quickly introduce part of the team that brought those moments to you. Behind us here is Sheila Corder, one of the editors from New York. We have Tim Hanrahan, our Deputy Bureau Chief and online editor in Washington. And Peter Landers, the Assistant Bureau Chief who handles law coverage for the Journal here in Washington. So they are here. And did you rehearse the song? No? No? Okay. Well, quickly, I mean, I would say that, you know, covering the Supreme Court is not like covering wars or natural disasters or baseball games. It's an obscure world that deals with abstractions, and it can be hard to make what goes on at the court resonate with readers and viewers. And so with the healthcare case, we tried to use some of the newer online tools to give life to what's really at its base a story that constitutional law professors would say involves the most compelling elements of the vertical separation of powers doctrine that we've seen in a long time. So we used the web to make the numbers involved in the whole healthcare law digestible and to try to show the human implications of those numbers. And then on the very day of the decision, we used our global resources to put a $5 Skype camera there, and we hope let viewers of our website feel some of the exhilaration and even confusion of the first moments when of a landmark decision of the Supreme Court being made public. And of course, we're very grateful to the foundation for thinking we did a decent job of it. There are a few more people I'd like to thank before moving on here. They include, of course, our editor-in-chief, Jerry Baker, and our former online chief, Raju Narasetti, who made such a high priority of bringing healthcare coverage alive in new and creative ways. In Washington, our longtime esteemed bureau chief and former head of this foundation, Jerry Seib, and his very able and creative and effective deputy, Matthew Rose. In New York, Jennifer Forsyth and her U.S. News team, Joanna Chung, the editor of the Law Group, and her team, including Ashby Jones, who you saw in that video in New York, Kate Ortega in Infographics, Stephanie Ilgenfritz's Health Group, and Joanne Poe and her video team all played key roles. From New York, we're glad, of course, to have Fitzy, Brian Fitzgerald, Brendan Moran, and Laura Western with us here tonight. In Washington, some of my superb colleagues who were instrumental in making it actually show up online include Mary Lou Carnevale, Janet Adamy, Brent Kendall, Louise Radnofsky, and the gentleman sharing a byline with me online today, Evan Perez. Thanks for everything. There are many others who, of course, took part in all this, but we're grateful that you found it worth looking at even after the news value has passed a bit. So thank you very much.